How's it going, guys? Today I'm going to be talking about a watch from one of the micro brand companies out there called Borealis. And this is a review of their Borealis Sea Dragon, which is a really nice dive watch. I'll just begin by going over the dimensions of the watch so you might know how it would sit on your wrist. Let's see, looking at the size here, you got about a 44 millimeter diameter. When we're talking about the height of the watch, it's just shy of 13 millimeters. The lug distance, it's 22 millimeters. And lug to lug, you're looking at about 50 millimeters. So it's a nicely decent sized watch. I think it'll sit nice on most people's wrist. If you're looking to pick one of these up, it's about $350 US. And with that you get a lot of features. So I'll talk about the specs of the watch too. The mineral is a sapphire glass. Inside this sapphire coating there's an anti-reflective coating on the inside. You have a nice PVD coated bezel, and the bezel is 120 clicks. You hear that nice action. And what's also nice is the bezel is loomed, as is the hands and inside of the indices for the dial. The loom that's applied for this is the BGW9 Swiss Super Luminova. So it actually has really great loom. I'll throw up a loom shot actually shortly, because I do find that once it is exposed to direct sunlight, the loom does last pretty much all night. It's very visible. And now if you actually take a second to look at the dial in more detail, you can see that it's a matte gray finish. It's reminiscent of those old Doxa style dive watches. And by that I mean you can see that the hour indices have a white square, and then they're flanked by the orange box on either side. You have really nice broad hour and minute hands, and the second hand is very nice, accented with orange, and it has a white loom pip on it as well. You can see that it does say Borealis at the 12 o'clock position, and then at the 6 o'clock you have 300 meters automatic, and at the 4 o'clock you do have the date window. Now it is automatic movement. The movement utilized by this is the Miyota 9015, which is a very robust movement that a lot of micro brands will kind of flock to, just because it's pretty robust. It's a 24 joule movement, has a 42-hour power reserve, operates at 28,800 beats per hour, and is hackable and hand windable. And when I say hacking, that just allows you, if you unscrew the screw down crown and you pull out the crown, notice how the second hand stops, and then you can push it in and it'll start back up again. Speaking of the crown, it's pretty nice. It's a sign crown, B for Borealis. Looking around the watch too, a nice feature they have is that the actual bezel is protected by a shroud. You can see this extra piece of thick metal surrounding the bezel. There's a hex screw on this side, and if I flip it to the other side, you can see there's another 2 hex screws on either side of the case that holds the shroud there, and it only allows you to access the bezel between the 12 and 3 or the 6 to 9 o'clock position, so like here. But it does give you that added layer of protection, which I find is really nice. Another nice detail that they did is that you can see, looking at the tips of the lugs here, they're screwed lug holes. So you can easily pop out the spring bars and switch out straps on the fly. You can actually see that I currently have this on a nice NATO strap that I think really highlights just the markers of the face of the watch. But I will point out that Borealis, if you buy this watch, offers a couple of strap options right out of the box. You have this pretty nice polyurethane strap, which is really nice if you're active or take it diving, because it's very sweat and water resistant. And then they even provide, on top of that, you get a nice leather buckle here, or sorry, signed Borealis buckle, and a nice thick leather strap as well. So, I mean, they do provide you some really nice options there. Great value for money, actually. I mean, I'm just going to flip over the watch. I'll let you see what the caseback looks like. So, it's actually nice to have like an engraved mermaid. It does say the Borealis Watch Company. Near the bottom it does indicate it's the Miyota 9015 movement, and that the watch is 300 meter water resistant. And you could see that the caseback itself is screwed. It has a screw down caseback, so it does aid in maintaining that water resistance. So that's basically the features and the dimensions of the watch. Just give me a second, I'll throw it on the wrist so you guys can see what it looks like. And here you go. Just a quick wrist shot. You can see it sits really nice on my 7¼ inch wrist. And I'm loving the NATO strap on it. But again, it does come with a polyurethane and a leather strap. So are there any negatives you should think about? Well, the only thing that I really notice that bothers me is the so-called anti-reflective coating on the sapphire crystal. I do find it is kind of reflective, when you bring it out in direct sunlight. That being said, though, the dial and the hands are super visible, so even with that, I mean, it's clearly easy to tell what time it is. And then the only other thing people might comment on, I think, would be the fact that it has a shroud around the bezel. Some people might find it hard to access the bezel that way, but I actually would prefer having a shroud if I were to take this diving, or if I'm just going to be more active, like doing sports, or just day-to-day activities outdoors. It does give you that extra layer of protection. So that's just my quick review of the Borealis Sea Dragon. I will note that I believe Borealis is discontinuing making the Sea Dragons. So if you can pick one up, the best place to check would probably be online, and all around the gray market. Places like What You See, eBay, or Amazon might still be selling them. But yeah, I mean, for the money, you're getting a lot of value right here. So that's just my quick review, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks.